Our first one now in this first session is to talk about the servant. And to do this, we can't possibly take it seriously unless we start off with the servant that appears in what is called the servant songs. You may be familiar with this. In the book of Isaiah, 4 times the symbol of a servant appears. It appears elsewhere as a symbol for the community. But in these 4 occasions, that symbol for the community evolves into or turns aside and becomes symbols for an individual. And these 4 servant songs are well known. The first one is in Isaiah 42. We'll look at that with some detail. The second one is in Isaiah 49. The third one is Isaiah 50. And the fourth one is Isaiah 53. That is more familiar to us than any of the others. So we begin with Isaiah 42, which launches this series of 4. And what do we find as we get there? We find out, and we'll look at this on the screen now, it opens with 4 lines which say, "Behold my servant whom I uphold, my chosen in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the nations." Now let's reflect on this. The language is freighted with overtones in the New Testament. First of all, he says, "Behold my servant," an individual, "my chosen one," this is language for Jesus in Matthew, "in whom my soul delights," this is the voice of God speaking to Jesus at the time of his baptism. "I have put my spirit upon him." Yes, this is what happens also in the baptism of Jesus. And what is he going to do? Well, it says, "He will bring forth justice to the nations." Read Gentiles. The word in Hebrew is goyim. And this is quite amazing that this special servant, whom you expect to be someone who is a servant of Yahweh, yes, he is a servant of God, that he should be there to serve his own people, the Jews. That's in the text where in a few verses later it says, "until he has established justice in the land." We usually translate the earth, but it's haaretz, the land. When a Hebrew prophet starts talking about the land, what he's talking about is the land of Israel. So here is a unique prophet that has a task of bringing justice to the land, that means to the Jews, and to the goyim, to the nations. There is going to be a radical turning with this new prophet. He is not just concerned for his own people, but he is concerned for justice for everybody out there, whether they be Jew or Gentile. Now, what is the nature of the justice that he is going to proclaim? And here again, we need to look at the text and look at the center of the passage that we're looking at, and I will read it for you. "He will not cry out or lift up his voice or make it heard in the street. A bruised reed he will not break, and a dimly burning wick he will not quench. He will faithfully bring forth justice. He will not fail, nor be discouraged." Now let's reflect on this. 7 things that this prophet, this servant of Yahweh, is not going to do. He's not going to cry out. He's not going to lift up his voice. He's not going to make it heard in the street. He's not going to break a bruised reed. He is not going to quench a burning wick. He is not going to fail, or the words in the actual in Hebrew says he's not going to burn dimly. He will not be discouraged, and the literal translation of the Hebrew is he is not going to be broken. Somebody out there is going to want to break him, but they're not going to make it. 7 things he's not going to do. He's not going to proceed with justice in the standard way that most people try to proceed at it. Make a big noise, get attention, try and pressure people into doing things they don't want to do. What is he going to do? He is a bruised reed he will not break, a dimly burning wick he will not quench. Namely, justice for this servant of Yahweh is more than equal application of law. Now, there's nothing wrong with equal application of law. If I speed down the road and get a $50 ticket, and the son of the chief police speeds down the road, and he ought to get a $50 ticket too. Equal application of law. There's nothing wrong with that. But this understanding of justice goes beyond that. A dimly burning wick he will not quench. This is inner exhaustion. The lamp is there, it's got a little wick there, it's run out of oil, it's just about to go out. You might be scared that the wick might break and fall down on the carpet and cause a fire. So, this prophet, this servant of Yahweh, isn't going to blow out the exhausted and the inner exhaustion. And the other metaphor that is used, a bruised reed he will not break. The prophet is the prophet of the exile. He's out there in southern Iraq. In southern Iraq, a big deal is reeds. They make their houses out of them, and all the writing is done with it. And for centuries, the pen was just a reed, which you sharpened at the end, dipped into the ink, and started writing. If the reed is crushed, you can't use it to protect yourself from the rain because it won't shed the rain. It isn't any good to write with because it won't get the ink right and you can't write properly. So what do? You break it and you burn it and you cook your supper with it. No, we're told that a bruised reed he will not break. Namely, justice equals compassion for the exhausted and the broken. It is not just equal application of law. Now, is this prophetic understanding of justice, this justice which we see here in this famous servant song, is that important?